You are listening to selfdiscoveryradio.com with an orchard of wisdom just ready for your picking, filled with illuminating, inspiring stories. Do check out the community and the discovery stores. We are here for you. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another show of Igniting Your Heart and Soul. Stepping into spirit, stepping into being. This is what the show is all about today. Doing, practicing it, or being it. The spiritual crossroad. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today is Esateys. We're going to dive right into how you be the spiritual path, how you step into your presence, how you take charge and create a game of how to get something done, how to live your life, how to create that money that you want. And you know what? Money is a tool. Remember that. It is not something we worship. It's not something that dictates or gives us any value. It is purely a tool. However, the bigger the tool, the more we have, the more we can actually generate that beingness and that sharingness and that contribution to the rest of the humanity. So we're going to explore all of these questions today of actually how you can be in every aspect of your life, be it business, be it your personal life, be in every aspect of your life, because that is what it's all about. So Esateys, please go down and read all the things that she's done, that she's doing, and she's been doing this for a long time. She is not a doing person. She's a being person that has done and continues to do with her being. So, Esateys, wonderful having you here today.
Thank you very much. And I don't like to bring technical things into this, but can you see me okay?
Yes, I can see you very well. And your hubby's on.
Okay, great.
Hi.
Okay, that's terrific. Hi. So I'm just having difficulty seeing you now, but I'm just going to go with speaking to you, and we'll go from there.
Yes, well,
So,
your face is way prettier, so it doesn't matter if mine doesn't come up. It's showing me here, but
oh no,
yeah,
no,
it's all
no,
about the
and it's not. Okay, so I apologize for that. I was just having a little technical thing as we were speaking about before we started. The technical things are a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about being and we talk about doing, it really becomes an interesting experience, because what happens is we have things that come up, like little things like technology, and we just rush into doing. And if we take a moment and we just be for a moment, we take that breath and we settle down into ourselves, and what happens is something else occurs. And so as a perfect example of this is when I just took a breath and I looked at my computer screen, I could see that, oh, there was this other thing just popped up, and all I had to do was click that little button and things were okay. So it's an interesting thing, because many people will ask me, am I just supposed to sit around and ohm all day? And is that what you're talking about with your being? Or am I just supposed to go, out there and go for the money and go for the gold and go for the accomplishments and all of that? And where do I have the two worlds match or meet or integrate? And that's really the question that I receive a lot, and you and I have spoken about it. So that is something that I think throughout this show here today that we can really discuss in greater depth. So you tell me, where would you like me to start?
Oh, gosh, well, I start at the very beginning, but where is the beginning, right? The Big Bang. I think the beginning for us is when we actually wake up to the fact that we're not just doing life, that we are, participant in life. Life is happening to us. We are happening to life. And that person gets the kiss on the brow, the tap on the shoulder, or the cosmic 2x4 into realizing, hang on, there is more to this, and life is living from the inside out. It's connecting to source, to that divine energy. I am more than just a humanoid going through life. And they start stepping into awareness, that awakening. And these shows, especially here on Self-Discovery Radio, is very, very much about the people that are wakening up. They're stepping into that consciousness. The sensory is going on, but they're not quite sure what they are or how to understand them, because quintessentially what they're becoming is being. They're stepping into their beingness, their presenceness, but it's confusing because the old head and the ego wants to get in and dictate what they should be. So maybe let us address the allowing ourselves to just be.
Allowing is such a powerful word, and it is such a powerful action. And because it does appear to be an action, although it's so closely related to being, and there is a definite differentiation. So when you're allowing, what occurs is that something comes across your plate, your life, and instead of going, that can't happen, that's not okay with me, and we go into automatic resistance, what we do is you find a key that works for you. For me, it's the breath, because the breath is life. So I
Yes.
just take a deep breath and I allow what's there right then. But what we do characteristically, because we are, forgive this term if it's offensive to anyone, but I call it recycled ignorance. What we have, we have all these programs running. And where did these programs come from? They came from our mothers and our fathers, and the sociality of life, and the internet for people today, and all of those things. And so when we come in as blank slates, if you will, we are, things are just happening. You said it beautifully a few moments ago, because you said that life is just happening. Well, and we are just happening in life. So the truth is, there's no separation between the two, but it seems like that
Yes.
because of where it is that we come from. So one of the things that I do in retreats is I have this little wiffle ball, and if I'd thought of it, I would have brought here to examples since we're on video. But a wiffle ball, most of you know, is a ball that has a lot of little holes in it. And so here we are in the center of this wiffle ball. And all of these little places where we can look through is our decision to be perceptively decisive about what it is that we are seeing and what angle we're seeing at it. So if I'm in the center of a wiffle ball and I look out over here, then I'm going to see something that appears to be that perception. And if I look at it over here, then I'm seeing what's happening from that angle. The angles are all different, but I'm still here in core.
Yes.
I still am all of these things that are out there going around, and I am the one who is seeing it and perceiving it by my own decisive decisions. And those decisions come from all of the programming that we have from, depending upon how far back you want to go, other lifetimes and DNA, and then this lifetime. So when we have all of those making a very big impact on us, we don't know how to allow, because we are in rote, we're reactive.
Yes.
We don't respond, we react in life. So
Yep.
allowing is interrupting that energy, taking a breath, or for some people it's counting to 10 or 5 to 1 or whatever it may be, and just stop for a moment. And when you stop for a moment, then you can reassess, for lack of a better term, what it is that's there. And when you become really committed to this, for lack of a better term, what happens is that you become the observer of what's going on.
Yep.
When you become the observer, you are now allowing whatever to occur, and simultaneously you're observing. So what's happening is you are now at the source point of inside the wiffle ball, if you will, and you're watching yourself look through all of the different perspectives, and you get to decide, gosh, which one do I really want to put my energy on? So the first step in that allowing process for me, and from where it is that I come from, is to observe it and take a breath with it and observe it, and then allow myself to make a decision about what way do I want to put this together. Happy, sad, mad, glad, reactive, contemplative, it's up to me.
It's take a pause, isn't it? We've I say this so often, as observing the other day when I was at the bus stop, all these cars whizzing by, and I thought, are they going faster than they used to, or have I slowed down? Because I think I've slowed down to a point where I'm more observant of what's going on around me, where, we have, as a humanity, everything is about being faster, getting there faster, zoom, forgetting about all the signs that are around us. And when we actually go through life being present and being aware what's around us, we realize in that perception coming from the core that, that looks like this, but this looks like that, and that's over there. And when you put them together, they create a different picture. But we've taken the time to observe and to see how everything is placed. And from there, we can see a little more clarity. If we're rushing everywhere, well, what's the picture? What's the decision? What's this? What's that? How can you do anything or achieve anything in that speed? You're whizzing by everything that's answering you. So pausing, taking a breath, and allowing things to come to you. You'll be surprised if just looking at a tree, suddenly you have an epiphany that's an answer to something that you didn't even know you had asked the question to yet.
That is so astute, and it's very, very accurate, because these, what I was calling the recycled ignorance, or the programs that are running, and ignorance for me is not a negative word. It means an innocence.
Yes.
It means that we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
It's just being asleep.
Yeah.
And when we recognize that, the minute that we recognize that we've been asleep, we're more awake.
Yeah.
And so when we live in the life that we do, which is so fast, as you were saying, I mean, if you turn on a CNN station, you will see, I'm dumbfounded by all of the ticker tapes and all this stuff, and gold is here, and this stock is here, and this person's speaking here, and up here in the corner is somebody else talking about something else, or there's an ad, and then those little pop-up ads come in the middle of your whatever you happen to see on television. It's like, oh my gosh. And we have become so addicted to speed and reactivity that we don't stop and look at the tree, smell the flowers, as they say. So because we're afraid, because there's a very deep core, there's a core concept, there's a core belief system that says that there's not enough, and I have to hurry, and I have to do everything, and I have to do everything perfectly, by the way, and I've got to get this to be this way and this to be this way. So in our fear, we become more controlling. Simultaneously, we become more reactive and less present. So when we are not being in the moment, we are being reactive, or we are being in a place where we are unconscious. And when we're unconscious, we are not going to have the joy. We will not be able to do anything except go with the flow of fear rather than the flow of beingness, which is allowing, as you said earlier. It's about allowing and stepping back. And it's amazing how many things are available for us, but we don't even see them.
No.
Because we're so ensconced with, oh my God.
Yes. Well, it's rather like the blinkers on the horse, isn't it? They put them there because they don't want the horses to be scared by what's around them, that they just look forward, just got to get to the end of that road. And we've kind of put those blinkers there ourselves. It's all about the end game. It's all about the end goal. Well, if you're not paying attention to the things happening along the way, that goal is going to be very different. What are you really achieving? It is that peripheral vision, everything that's going on around you that would dictate how you're going to react to it, what you're going to take from it, what you're going to take with you on your journey. And if you're so busy just going linear and forward and not paying attention to anything, you're missing out on all the tools and the knowledge that you can learn along the way.
Oh, that is very, very accurate. And we've heard it for eons. Slow down, be in the moment, be present, all of those things. Our world has not been real supportive of that, because we're not in the forest in the cabin anymore.
No.
We have now so many distractions that it becomes more challenging, lack of a better term. And multitasking has been a way of life. And I love your puppy. I would have brought mine in had I known we could have. I have one in fact, he has his very own chair over there, and he sits there with me all day whenever I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
When you do an interview, right? Because they're tapping into the energy,
Exactly.
It, yes.
When I left him at the door, he said, Mom. And I said, honey, we just are going to do that for now. So at any rate, when we're caught in life,
Yes.
because we're not in the forest anymore and
Right.
because we are so distracted by so many things, we lose our center. And when
Yes.
we lose our center, that's
Right.
when we go into the doing and we're
Yeah.
living in the doing mode. And the doing mode, it's not an effective or a joyful place to be.
Well, you never get anything done because you're so busy doing. You're never satisfied with what you've done because you're
That's
not
true.
in the presence of being, or receiving, because everything is like, well, I did this and I did that, but how come I still feel empty? Right? How
Yes.
many people say that? I feel empty. I went and got the college degree. I went and got the six-figure corporate job. I have the house with the 2.5 kids and the expensive car and then this and that. I wear the Armani suits, but how come I'm still empty?
Hmm.
Because everything is exterior and nothing is interior. Because I call it living up to society's expectation. But who placed that expectation on us? Who?
Right.
Not
And
us.
we and unconsciously we have contributed to that
Yes.
because we play the game, and anything
Yeah.
we put a lot of energy on, as we all know, is going to grow. And boy,
Mhm.
has it grown,
Yeah.
because that's where we're all, or that's where most people are living. The people that are listening to the show and that are really committed to
Yeah.
being more aware and more awake, and people like you that are helping support people in waking up, then that's what it is,
Yeah.
that they have the opportunity to really perceive and look at things and make that change, interrupt the energy
Yes.
of unconsciousness or the doing cycle. When years ago, for many, many years, I would literally take anywhere from 2 to 10 days and just go and be in the woods and
Mhm.
just interrupt that cycle. Now, admittedly, I haven't done that for a while, but I do retreats where sometimes not ever retreats like this, but we'll be in silence for 3 to 10 days.
Mhm.
And we go into much deeper perspective places. And because of that, it's a renewal, not only for me, but for everyone there. And suddenly it's like, wow, I didn't know I could feel that. I didn't know
Yes.
I had that information that was available to
Right.
me.
I can hear
I
myself
didn't know
think.
my body was saying this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello. I've been knocking at your door for so long, but you couldn't hear me. Yes.
that's 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 really true. I when I was younger, I had a postcard, and I was like 20 or something, and the postcard said, "I keep calling God. I'm calling God, but I keep getting a busy signal." Well, the truth is that God, our own source point, or
Yes.
our God, whatever your
Yes.
word is, your spirit is calling you,
Yeah.
and it keeps getting the busy
Yes.
signal.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing is, you talk about retreats and going into the woods and switching off. Let's understand this. Nature isn't just a question of I'm removing myself. Nature is where you connect to self, because nature is already connected. All of the trees have a matrix where they're connected to one another. The water runs deep underneath the
Mhm.
ground that we don't even see, that's connected to one another. There is a flow of life going on in nature all the time that is very pure and very energetic. And when you step into nature, you're stepping into that energy and that flow. And it just changes our frequency and changes our flow of energy into a way that then becomes more productive, because you are more aware, and you're more aware of yourself from the inside out and how you can connect to life. And when we bring that back into the mainstream, yes, we do slow down. We do things more aware. We allow more things to happen to us. And we create things happening to us by that energy projection that we put out there. A lot of people think that if you're stepping into that nature or that retreat or that switching off, that you're not being productive. I say we become more productive when we step into that energy than we do just chasing our tails around, trying to get somewhere.
Right. I agree with you completely. And ultimately, we reach a place where we don't necessarily have to go into the woods for 10 days
Right.
because we are here inside in a connected place.
Yes.
We are feeling and being the matrix and the flow of life
Yeah.
occurring in a way that I mean, it doesn't mean that when we go to retreats and we go to the woods or whatever we do, that it doesn't mean that that is not an even greater
Yeah.
deepening that occurs.
That's just
But
turning
I
the
want to
volume up.
make it clear. Yeah, I want to make it clear that it's not like, okay, I'm
You
hopefully won't
have to
offend
go into
anybody who's
nature to
very
get
religious,
something.
but it's like the person that goes to church every Sunday and then goes out and does whatever they do during the week that might be against what it is that their church is saying, but they go back and they pray on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's not what we're
Yep.
talking
Yep.
about. We're
Yep.
talking about being who you really are, a pure, open-hearted light of love, the flow of energy. God is uninterrupted movement. So it's not that we're going to not be in a state of movement. It's a matter of having the awareness while you are in that movement that everything becomes the expression of source coming through you. And that way, the beingness it moves from sitting there in the oming thing or whatever
Yes.
to a place where it is that no matter what you're doing, that is the
Yeah.
beingness of life,
And
of
you
you,
are
of
the
source.
beingness. You don't switch your beingness off on Sunday after church. You are in your beingness all the time. You are
Exactly.
present in your life in the divine
Hmm.
sourceful energy, whatever you wish to call it. You are connected to that energy. And that is
Yes.
what creates you in being who you are. And it's not something that is, Monday to Friday, you're doing one thing, Saturday you're partying, hungover, go to church on Sunday, and hallelujah, I'm, now saved. It is a question of stepping into that consciousness and being that consciousness all the time. And you don't need the Sunday. I mean, it's nice if you go for the love and the camaraderie and the support of one another. That's
Hmm.
wonderful if you can find that church that celebrates you and your connection. That we don't need to go to church to be connected to source or God. God is within us. We are
Yes.
part of God. That connection is inside. And when we tap into that and become part of that and let our resonance shine, now we are that particle of God that then resonates and dominates, dominoes out, ripples out to other people.
Absolutely. And when we are, actually, I have people ask me all the time, well, how do you do that? Because I'm focusing on this and I'm not thinking about God. Well, when you start to recognize that you are God
Hmm.
expressing, then suddenly you bring yourself to a state of presence, and that presence is to notice what you're feeling.
Yeah,
Pay attention to what you're doing in this very moment,
right.
what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. Be in your body. That's a good
Yeah,
start. Most people
yes,
aren't even in their bodies.
right.
So if we really pay great attention to all of the experiences and details, if you will, of whatever it is that we're focusing on, then it allows you to be in a present state. But it doesn't mean that you're sitting there praying every minute, because praying
Right.
is almost like a separation anyway,
Yes.
because then you're praying out there rather than being in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's being present in here that is going to allow you to really experience the flow and the beingness of life.
Right. That's where you have to step in to find out what is your meditation. Literally for some people it's the cross legs and the hamaha, and others maybe
Hmm.
through yoga or maybe through walks. You've got to find out where is your silence and your connectivity. It's kind of going and recharging that energetic battery, isn't it?
Yes.
Recentering, opening up those chakras, opening up that beautiful divine channel, and channeling down that energy so that it can take you forth into what you need to do while you're being. But it's not a one meditation fits all. We have to find what fits us, and but most of all, it's got to be somewhere where you can be at home in the silence and
Hmm.
at home in the aloneness, because that's really where it really speaks to you, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's the truth is, people think they want to be happy. What they want is peace.
Yeah.
people from my experience anyway, when I really work with them, then I really get them to recognize that it's not more money they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the more successful life. It's not that their children stop doing drugs, and it's not that they don't want those things.
Right.
But if those things occur, then what happens inside of them? They feel more peaceful.
Yeah.
And so when we start to recognize that that peace usually has to come first, then what's happening out there is okay. In
Yeah.
spite of what our ego minds, our personalities minds might say, no, that will never be okay with me. Well, what if it was? I use what if questions all the time.
Yeah.
What if I saw this differently right now?
Yeah.
What if it was true that I could be at peace regardless of what was happening in the world? What if I was the eye of the hurricane right now? And when we start to bring it all back in here, and we go back into the wiffle ball and or the periscope where we're looking out, then we start to realize that we have a lot more control, for lack of a better term, over our lives by recognizing not so much that things aren't going to happen. There's going to be earth changes. There's
Yes.
going to be society doing its dance in
Yes.
politics and every other way. It's just life happening.
Yeah.
How do
And
you
it's
want
going
to
to
be
happen
in
to you.
life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know of a very powerful guru kind of guy, teacher by the way, I'm relatively irreverent when it comes to spiritual stuff, so please forgive me because I don't put people on pedestals or
Right. Yes.
anyone. So
Right.
it doesn't mean I don't have great respect and
Right.
love and all of that, but
Yes.
I better make my disclaimer when I say this guru guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, very, he has millions of followers in India, and he made this amazing temple, and I don't even know how much money was spent and gathered to do this for all of these people, and people would think, oh, he's the perfect life, he's totally awake and completely liberated and all of these things. And so he opened this temple, had this big opening, and what occurred is that there were millions of people that were waiting to get into this amazing place, and in doing so, they trampled each other, and people died.
Oh my
I
God.
mean, many people died, and so, and then people go, well, then he must not be a great guru or something because something happened. No, life is about the experience. It's happening. We don't need to sit here and judge or feel guilty if certain things occur in our lives, but rather, from my viewpoint, the place that you're going to find the greatest sense of peace and connection is by allowing life to live in a non-resistive place, and check on how you are perceiving what's going on, because when you recognize that there's no separation in God is happy, sad,
Yeah.
mad, glad, good, bad, right, wrong. We live in a polarity-based society. So
Yes.
based on that, we have to have all these things happening
Right.
to everyone. So what is that empowerment for us? It's about deciding how we're going to be with that.
Right. Yes. I mean, we have to understand that it's not about power. It is about empowerment.
Yes.
We seem to worship people of power. That's a
Mhm.
powerful person. Oh, it must be godlike. And the people that are truly powerful are those that empower others to be powerful in their own lives. And
Yes.
it's about you stepping in. It's about your accountability of your own choices, your own life. The people that trample the other people, for whatever reason, they did that choice, that hysteria, that decision
Mhm.
making, instead of an orderly fashion, right? It's like, I need to get in there because I want this person to inspire, to fix me, to this or that, and I don't care who I trample on to get there. We use
Right.
that terminology a lot, but this was absolutely literal. And we actually have to understand that we actually gain so much more when we enable and give other people along the
Mhm.
way. Giving is a beautiful way of receiving. Now, you don't give to yourself, well, what are you going to give back? You give from your heart and from your soul. What you get back in your spirit is so much more, so much more. When you can see how you've had an effect on somebody else's life, in an improvement in any way whatsoever, that source, that food feeds you back so much more. And it's such a wonderful feeling to know that you have actually stepped out of just self and given yourself to others to enable them. We're now raising that vibration. We're raising that frequency. The more people that step into their own empowerment, their own love, their own being, the more we actually raise the frequency of the planet. And we know at the present moment, the frequency of the planet is very, very static and very out of balance. And this is our invitation to humanity right now. You stepping into your being, becoming part of a society where you contribute your beautiful gift, your love, your life. We now create a society that steps up into a higher vibration of loving and caring for one another. And now we actually start to see some harmony and balance. That doesn't mean there still won't be wars, or there won't be hurricanes, or there won't be this and that, but it does mean as a humanity we will step up to support one another through it better than rather throwing people under the bus, which is what we're doing a lot of right now.
I know. I've seen some of the events that have gone on that have appeared to be horrific, with different shootings and all these things. The gift that has come out of that, and I've just been really observing, because I consider myself like a macro thinker. I'm a visionary, and I'm watching how the world is going through its process. And some of the greatest gifts are people are now joined together. Look at the kids that are now, they have a mission. I think that this is so exciting, because even though it was not so much fun what occurred to have them get together, these kids are thinking about a different kind of thing than perhaps doing drugs or getting drunk on the weekend or finding a way to, do whatever, because they're becoming very passionate, and they're taking a step within themselves of empowerment to really help the world be a place that feels safe and more loving to live in. And I see tremendous gift from so many of these things, even though they appear to be horrific. There's always, because again,
a balance. Always a balance. My song last year was Andrea Day's Rise Up. And it's, for as humanity to rise up, to come together. And it always seems that we rise up when we, as a humanity or as a nation, take a look at some wrongdoing and say, we will not stand for this anymore. We're going to stand together, not with pitchforks, but arm in arm, together, to raise our vibration and say, this is unacceptable. And it's only when we come together in peace, but with a firm voice, that we actually can shift the changes that are necessary. I am ecstatic at seeing these kids step up and say, this is my life you're talking about. One senator was talking about, well, no, we should just teach the kids how to do CPR. And as the one kid pointed out, saying, when you've got an AK-15 shot you in the head, there is no CPR needed, you're dead. And then, of course, the other thing, let's arm the teachers. So you think weapons against weapons are the answers? How about remove the weapons? Guess what? No shootings. Oh. But we have to start placing value on humanity, not the green property.
That's a good word. That is a very true statement. So when we start looking at things from this bigger viewpoint, then we start to see the gift, because many people right now, because of the things that are going on, are only looking at the horrific parts of it, rather than seeing the other part and the perfect scheme. How could anyone think that God, Spirit, Universe, whatever each person's word is, could mess up? How could it not be in a state of perfection, which I don't even believe in the word, because that implies that if it's not perfect, if it's perfect, then it's not perfect. Instead of just saying the world is as it is. And rising our vibration, rising our ability to see and to wake up is going to help everyone else on the planet do the same thing. It's like, I often think of this mother hen that has her wings out and she brings her chicks in. It's like there's a door open for people to come into that frequency and see differently. And the higher your frequency is, the more capable you are, the more natural it is for you to see things from a viewpoint that shows you everything, rather
Yes.
than just, oh my God, this isn't right, and I have to fight it, because we then create more struggle, and the more we're struggling,
Friction.
the more we're just creating more
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. And there's a wonderful movie a few years ago called The Inside Out, an animated movie about a little girl going through emotions. And a lot of people think, well, when you step into divine presence, you're in all the time. The
I know.
world is beautiful. I wish you love. And no, folks, that's not reality. You are entitled to get mad. You're entitled to get angry. You're entitled to feel hurt or sad. The whole thing is these emotions is tap into your emotions, but don't become emotional. Don't get stuck in one emotion that now, I call it the CNN effect. It takes a pimple and makes it into a volcanic eruption, right? So it's those emotions are there for a reason. If you're feeling sad, why? Why? What's making you sad? If you're angry, well, what are you going to do about it? It's not punching somebody in the face because you're angry. Something stirred something up in you. What can you do to resolve it in a peaceful manner? It's an invitation. And sometimes emotions are just purely there to be spent. Spend the emotion, take the cleansing breath, and then move on. But people who get stuck in anger or get stuck in pain or get stuck in trauma, becomes the victimization mode. And we know that if you stay in the victimization mode, there is no moving forward. At some point, you have to decide to stop being the victim.
That is so very true. And when we get ourselves in a place where we are feeling victimized, then we are not holding a vibration that's supportive,
No.
not only for ourselves, but for the rest of the world as well. And
Yep.
emotions are a part of life. And many people, and I know that the law of attraction and all of that kind of teaching, and that is not that I don't think that there's absolute validity there. On the other hand, people become guilty because God, I'm really angry, or I'm really emotional, and that whatever it is that comes up, then they feel,
Yes.
how come I drew that to me? I must not be a good person. I'm never
Right.
going to get awake. I'm never
Right.
going to do this right.
Yeah.
And so what
Blame
what
game.
yes, that's right. The
I
blame
used
game.
to said this, yes.
So what I've found is that there's certain things, there's lots of different processes that people can do to when they have emotions. I mean, there's so many different perspectives. One is that you can look at it like, okay, this is up, and you can say, delete this program.
Yeah.
And just delete the program. Another thing, of course, that you can do is to remind yourself that this is a part of life. Oh, this is just part of the game called life.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing, actually I have a whole bunch, but the third thing that I think is actually the most effective, and you touched on it a moment ago, and that is to just feel it.
Yeah.
To just sit and feel it. That means that you do everything you can to stay out of your head. You notice thoughts, they're going to come and go, but just observe them and move into the body and notice what the body's doing. I had an example of this the other day, and I hadn't had this happen for a really long time, but I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror, washing my face or whatever, and I felt this wave of terror come through my body.
Sorry,
And
could
I
you
was
repeat
like,
that? It got cut off. You had a wave off?
sure. I had a wave of terror. Let me
All
put
right.
this there, of like fear go through my body. And I stood there kind of dumbfounded, because I've become fairly proficient at being an observer. So I just observed this,
Right.
and it just, I watched my stomach, I watched my heart flutter. I had all these things kind of go through, and it was a shaking thing. Within seconds, whew, it moved right through me, and it was gone. I have no idea what it was about. I didn't spend any time. Actually, at the time, I didn't even label it. I just noticed it was a feeling. Later, I said, that felt like terror. But in the moment, just staying with the sensation of it, it just completely it just completely dissolved it. And you said it a moment ago when you said you spend the energy,
Yeah.
just spend the money by by being with it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when you do that and recognize that, if we go back to the statement that I made earlier, which is that God is all things, since that's a big thing for people, because people are really feeling like they need to do it right.
Yeah.
Well, there's no wrong in feeling fear. There's no
No.
wrong in being
No.
angry. It's what you do with it that can
Precisely.
cause you some repercussions that you may not like.
The attitude towards it. I have a show this last week that I read on my own channel, Sarah's View of Life. I just take something that's of interest, and it's this whole thing of good and bad. This last week I did on is it. Um, if you're spiritual, you only live in the good and you don't feel the bad. And then, or if you're feeling bad, is, oh, just be positive, don't be so negative. And it's like, it is what it is. And if I am feeling negative today, or I'm feeling sad today, or I'm feeling bad today, there's a reason for it. And sometimes it just simply might be you are needing some loving care. Give yourself some nurturing. Wrap those arms around you,
Hmm.
and just make yourself feel good. We have got this whole thing of that spirituality is all about being happy and gay and positive all the time. And it's not a reality. It's not a reality. And if we are feeling sad, or if we are feeling, mad or a little disconnected now and again, it's an invitation for us to do something for ourselves so we can reconnect. You didn't do anything wrong. You may have just been overdoing it. Or it could even be simply something to do with the alignment of the stars, or retrograde.
Yes.
We've got to understand that the moon, as you were saying, the moon's coming up, you feel it in your body. We've got to understand there are these elements all around us that sometimes has an effect on us and we don't know why. Don't get stuck in trying to understand why. Just there, you need to step into do, right?
That's
You need to do something for yourself that's going to make you feel good.
that's exactly right. And the do begins with being with what's there,
Yes,
and then once you do that, you go, now what can I do that is going to give me what it is that that message was.
yeah.
So if you're overdoing it, like working too many hours, or
Hmm.
never taking any playtime, or not working enough, or whatever it may be for someone, then take a look at that and say, gosh, am I being compassionate? Am I being loving? Am I really caring about myself? Because if you are not taking care of you, no one else is going to get
Exactly.
what it is that you have the ability to give them, which is an open-hearted,
Yeah,
compassionate, high vibration, loving experience. And if you aren't that in the moment, then be with yourself with that and let it
yeah.
move through you, and then come back, because the natural essence of us is the joy of life.
Yes,
I mean, that's who we are. So
right,
we just have all these shellac coverings over it
right.
that make us pretend that we aren't. So
Yeah.
scraping them off one by
No, no,
one.
no, no, no. I'm not emotional. Don't worry about me. We got the melodrama, and my mum was very martyrish, and of course, you become right what you're around. And my kids would go, "Mom, I just asked you. Don't go. Whatever you want. What do you want? And that came from me being. I've always had to be a person of service, but I actually became a person of servitude. And it was giving at the sacrifice of myself all the time because I didn't think I was worthy and I didn't have any boundaries. And of course, that was my life journey to find my balance and be worthy within myself. And I love being of service, but now I'm only going to be of service to the amount the energy I can spend without it depleting me. And this is something we need to find in life, isn't it? Our balance. How do we step into our balance? And it's
Yes.
only by going in and being that you understand what your balance is. And if you cannot do, then simply say it. I'm sorry, at this present moment, I cannot do. Own
That
it.
is that is such a critical point,
Mhm.
because people who, and in my experience, women are more so than men. And people that are in the service community,
Yeah.
having been and still in medicine for a long time, you know that that's all about giving. And all the caretakers in the world come in many, many flavors. It doesn't really matter whether it's medicine or whatever it is. The bottom line is that we are there giving, giving, giving. And I
Yes.
think as mothers, it becomes even more so. And it might be taking care of our puppies or whatever, but we're caretakers by nature.
Yes.
And when we do that because of an overflow, that's one thing. But when we're doing it, when we're in deficit, that
Mm.
doesn't work well, because when we don't know our own boundaries,
Yeah.
when we don't know what we need, if we're not listening to our body, if we're not listening to what it is that the universe is supporting us with, then we are going to fall on our knees, hit the wall,
Yeah.
and then people get nothing from us.
No, it's the old
So,
oxygenate yourself. How can you help
yes.
anyone if you're out of breath? This is the thing. I need to replenish myself. This is a certain amount of energy I need to run this vehicle, to run this psyche, this presence, and whatever energy that I have that doesn't need for that, I will gladly share. I will gladly give you. But we have to actually know what are our limitations. We also have to know what are our triggers. A lot of people think that if you are living in the divine presence and a very spiritual person, therefore you should be a healthy person, and that all you have to do is the overcome. And it's my understanding through doing this for a number of years that an awful lot of very cosmic spiritual people are people that battle a great deal with health and have a lot of health issues. I'm one of them. And, it's always kind of like, why? Why? And it's
Mhm.
part of it is limitation of how much energy I can give out, because if I give out, I would give it all away, because so I am. So the body reminds her, hello, let's fill this tank first. And I think also the other part of it is that when you are such a cosmic being, we're so happy to go back into the universe and forget how to be in our body. And our body reminds us, we're here. You've got to come into body. You've got to be both the human spiritual being. It's humanoid and being, human being is what we're meant to be, because this is the gift of this connection, of this partnership, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's one of the myths
Mm-hmm.
of spirituality. It's one of the myths that people use guilt so
Yes.
bad on themselves, because they feel like,
Why me?
yeah, and if I was a really good spiritual high vibrating person, I would never have a cold, let
Yes.
alone cancer or
Yeah.
something really severe.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I know many great awakened liberated masters that have had cancer,
Yeah.
diabetes, all different kinds of things that have occurred. And there's another piece besides the things that you mentioned that I feel sometimes occurs, and that is that they are transmuting through their body
Yeah.
some of the incongruent energies that are not supportive of the planet, and their body can take that for as long as it can, just
Yeah.
like the animals, that they transmute incongruent energies for us. And that means that many times they'll end up with illnesses because they took so much of the
Yeah.
weight off of us because of their gift to us. And so when that's another myth that just needs to go out the
Yeah.
window from
It's
my
it's
viewpoint,
it's a
because
little hard if you're an empath, though. Because I'm I can feel when the world's sad or when I'm around somebody, and it's like it's sometimes you literally do have to close the doors on people, and as you say, go into a retreat yourself, go into that space of silence and nothingness in order to think, because you are picking up those vibrations around you. And I think one of the hardest lessons for me to learn is to put that that barrier around me of I can only take so much,
Mhm.
because it was literally killing me. And this is, I think, is, some people are afraid to kind of open themselves up into being, because, they suddenly do start getting more sensitive and more in tuned. And then
Mhm.
it can become, oh, I can do things, and they become scared. Or some people tap into energies, the energy healing, and they become putting so much out, they don't know how to restrain or
Yes.
balance. And so this is something that when you do awaken into being, and you do discover that there is a particular gift that you have, rejoice in it. It's beautiful. This is your gift that's being given to serve humanity. But at the same time, know your balance, know your boundaries. How much do you put out? How much do you need to get back in order to keep that balance there? Because it really can throw off kilter, can't it?
That is so very true. You and I are very much alike, as you know. You know, I'm also an empath, and I used to tell people I feel everybody's everything. It
Yeah,
was
I
really, really hard. It's hard to be in the world when you're like that,
Yes.
honestly.
Yeah.
And 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 one of the things that I also had to do is like you, I had to just shut myself off. And one of the things that may be going through people's minds is like, well, how do I do that? And maybe you can share what you do, and I'll tell you what I have done in the past, especially, which is that you could do this every morning or every night before you go to bed, or both, or during the day, or before you're going to work with a client or whatever. Is just, for me, it's just about closing my eyes and putting my focus in the center of my being, and to see that light and let that light expand out all around my body. And I have like a clear, a pure lighted bubble around me, and I make it clear that everything that is loving and kind can go out, and I
Yeah.
don't take anything in. So it's a decision making process, for lack of
Yes.
a better term. And then I just give it away. The other thing that I do is, before I go to any interview, anytime I coach, I do a retreat, or I do anything, even working on the computer, I always take a moment, and I've like I said, I'm a little irreverent. I go, okay, you guys take it, or God, it's yours,
Yeah.
or something. I give it
Drive the
away, and
vehicle.
that immediately.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like Jesus take the wheel. That
Yes.
song. It's like there's at that point, what you're doing is you're acknowledging the source,
Yes.
and from there you have a much higher level of protection. And for other times, it's just important to just be away. Let's just not get in the midst of
Yeah.
big crowds. Let's not take on too
Yes.
many people. Choose whom it is that you work with. You don't have to be a savior. You don't have to
No.
save everyone. You don't have to think that just because they're having all these really serious, difficult problems, that you have to be the one that makes it better for them. You may not be energetically aligned to do that. That doesn't mean it's for you just because they come into your life. So you have to look inside and see, can I handle being around somebody like this and still feel supported and strong?
Yeah.
And so what do you do, or what have you done in the past?
Well, as a spiritual counselor for most of my life, it was always helping people to find their balance, find, the soul awakener, step into their soul and the heart, listen to yourself, step
Hmm.
through the fear. And of course, you, especially, obviously 2012 shifted our whole energy, and more people were willing to awaken, and the energies were with us. But back then it was a lot more of people, you get them to that point where they're stepping out of the fear, and then like a boomerang, they'd go back. And it was so much energy, and I found that a lot of my illness came from spending all that energy and just not being able to do anything. And it was frustrating, because I thought that was the gift I was given to help people.
Hmm.
And then of course it was the radio station for me that I realized ultimately my gift, which is now 6 years this week. And I found, quote, my voice in the voices of others, and coming across such wonderful people like yourself who stepped into being. No apologies, no explanation needed. You are who you are, and you are divine, and you're here for a purpose, and you will not compromise who you are. And it's beautiful, and it's celebrated. But what I do for myself now is, yes, for a while there, I became very retreated from people. Basically, it was just virtual. I didn't
Hmm.
see people. Now I've stepped into an arena of people, but I'm dealing with the people that will rise to my vibration. Right?
Awesome.
So I'm here. You want to work with me, collaborate with me, celebrate with me? Let's do it. But I'm not coming down there. I'm not going to your anger. I'm not going to your fear. I'm going to the people that are saying, I'm leaving that. I want to go into another world and another realm. I want to be. I want to be. And so I'm very happy to help people find their voice, find their platform, and become and be. But what I do is the deep breath. Obviously, the breathing is really, really important. I love
Hmm.
silence, but I'm never silent. My head is constantly going, never, never stops. It's making movies all the time. So at the end of the day, the computer goes off and I watch TV. And a lot of people say, well, how can you watch TV? How can you do that? I watch it because it takes me off. my mind off there, completely gone, right? I do not have to hear my mind. It's busy. And then my soul and my psyche and everything else can now calm down. And it's always worked for me. If I've been really upset, really at the end of my tether, really stressed out, watching something that removes me from me, then allows everything else to settle down. And because physically I have challenges, so I can't go and work out, do the gym, just go and do that. I have the physical challenges against me, but the mental challenges are the ones that if I don't switch off, then I'm going to be in trouble. So that's my way of switching off. And of course, music. I'm history of depression, headphones on YouTube, on something, listening to music, and and it's interesting because I had somebody on who does galactic speak, and she speaks and channels, universal language, and you have no idea what she's saying. She doesn't know what she's saying. So the head can't interfere with it and argue with it, right? Because it doesn't understand it. And it goes into your psyche, resets your DNA. And I've had no depressive episodes since I did that with her. And the one thing I realized, the galactic speak frequency, even what she was saying, and along with the music frequency is what resets us. So music and the vibration of music, that's why we look to the drums or the flutes or the this or that. It gets in there and it resets us, doesn't it? Taking us on a more fluid frequency and a less of a static one, and calms us down. So this is what works for me.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I used to very frequently, I also speak the language of light, and I can speak that at any time. I don't have to get into some altered state. It's always there. And I've done a lot of activations that I've kind of put on the back burner for a while, and I don't even know why, but I used to do them, and I occasionally still do them in my retreats, and I used to do them when I have my own radio show and things of that nature. And that is the most profound thing. I would agree with you. I'm glad that you found that, because when you're speaking that language, the frequency, it does the healing. And it's on purpose. When we have no words, our mind can't figure it out. So it doesn't know what to do with itself.
Ego gets out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's a beautiful thing. I think that's very awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start doing that again, because you just really
yeah,
refreshed that.
It's really funny, isn't it, too, is that, the old terminology, when you're ready to learn, the teacher will come. And I think it's, when you are in your awareness of life and you're at a certain stage and you've gone so far and you need something else now, all of a sudden you get introduced to someone. And it's so uncanny. I mean, I'm being selfish here. This radio station has been great therapy for me. People that I've met along the line. I've done close to 1,000 shows in 6 years. And the people that I've met along the line have truly, helped rebuild me, most certainly. And certainly also made me feel I am not alone in who I am and what I'm doing, which for a long time I felt completely isolated. And I think that's very important, isn't it? We talked about the people around you, and you're always going to get somebody, hell and damnation, who's going to try as you're stepping into being, and they haven't quite got the message yet, that you are already a part of God. You are already a part of that energy. The universe made us, and that the universe, the God energy, and we're a part of that. So we just have to tap into it, just have to channel it. And you're going to get people who maybe disagree with that, and there's some people you may have to say goodbye to. And then when you open up to other people, it is not what they're saying, it's the vibration in which they're saying it in that you want to connect with.
That's absolutely so accurate. I always tell people when I do retreats, I tell people the words are here for entertainment. It's the frequency, it's the energy that's creating the shift, and your willingness to be with that is where all of the radical transformations that occur from. And we use words to entertain ourselves, and when we do the language of light, of course, we don't even get the words, and then our ego gets a little whatever. But that's okay, because it's even more profound. The shift. So
it's in the intent of tone, isn't it? It's the frequency.
And I'm with you, because when I do retreats or coaching or any of that stuff, it's for me. Sometimes I honestly, Sarah, I go, I'm just so grateful I get to be paid teach myself. I get to
Yes.
be paid to do, to let it come out of me. I mean, I never have any idea what I'm going to say. It just
Right.
happens,
You're
just like with
channeling.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly, because that's who we are.
Yes.
That's what we do.
We're
And
knowingness.
yeah, and that is just, it's so beautiful. And I love the fact that you are who you are, and the gift that you've given all of these people is just profound. And you have found your way through your labyrinth of
Mm.
your own physical things that have gone on. And as you know, I've had a few of my own, most recently getting a pacemaker in a week ago, and having all of these other things occur. These are physical things that
Yes.
create us expanding from my
Yes.
viewpoint.
Yeah.
They're not to make us smaller. It's
No.
another thing on the resume of life. It's like, whoa, I got through that. I got through
Yeah.
that. I made this. I grew from that. Look what I learned from this. It's like an exciting adventure. I never know when I wake up in the morning, what is this day? And I always say, what adventure do you have in store for me today?
Right.
Because it's, if we really can approach life that way, then we see that the doing is really the being, and there's really no
Yes.
difference between the two. It's just that there's a set point inside of
Yeah.
us that shifts to recognizing that we are being who we really are. And while we're being that, the hands might be moving, the mind might be, doing whatever, but we are one with, and there's no separation between those two.
No. The thing is, when you step into being and you're now doing from that being place, everything you do is done in such a beautiful vibration. It becomes more inspirational, more invitational.
Hmm.
And, again, we've done many shows, and on Channeling and Ascensions this week, we have a show on our relationship with money, especially channeling and spirituality. There's still the stigma that if you were this kind of person, you should do it for the love, and if you get paid for it, it's against the energy. No, we have these human vessels, folks, that need to be housed and fed and looked after, and we have every right to take care of that. And that there is none of that. Somebody else created that vision of it. Took me a while to step into that, though. Took me a long while to step into that. And I think when you step into being and you are, and you're channeling, and then that knowingness and sharing that divine energy and your musical instrument for the world to hear, you are going to attract so much more in your business life, in your personal life, in your love life. In everything that you do is going to be so much more abundant, because you are being true to who you are, and you're resonating on such a beautiful vibration that it invites those people who are resonating on that vibration too to become a part of that orchestra.
Yes, and when we had spoken off camera a week or 2 or 3 weeks, whenever that was ago, and we spoke about this, and you were very supportive for me actually in that moment, because as I had shared with you, I had kind of gone into more of a business modality with where my husband wanted me to be, rather than really
Yes,
speaking all of these
yes,
spiritual things,
yes.
which I used to be. I mean, I was like a spiritual teacher, so to speak, for 30 years. And then it was like, okay, now I need to maybe work with CEOs and business people and
Hmm.
all of that. But my heart was never
No,
there. And then being here with you today just really revives what I do in my retreats. But in the outer world, so to speak,
yes,
I've presented myself differently, and I feel at home, and I'm so
yes.
grateful.
But
I'm
you
grateful.
you are what you are. Be what you are, because you are enough. You don't
Yeah.
have to be somebody else's expectation of what you should be. It's like,
Right.
when you've got a musician that has an instrument, that instrument and that musician are one. For somebody now to say to someone who's playing the blues or jazz, I now want you to play punk rock with that instrument. You can't.
Right.
It's you're asking them to change a channel that is completely on a different frequency. You must honor your own instrument and be what you are meant to be, because that is what you're here for, and not let somebody else dictate what that path is. Only you know what the path is, because only you can see it and feel it.
And that's very, very true. And one of the things that comes up for many people that I work with is just, well, if I am who I am, and the money doesn't come fast enough
Right.
or at all, then it must be that it was not meant to be. I never thought that. I knew,
Yeah.
I've known forever. I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time. And what I did is and this happens sometime, maybe we'll talk about relationships because I do a lot of stuff with relationships.
Another
And
show.
I gave myself away. Yeah, another
Yes.
show. I'd love that. Another whole thing is on how we give ourselves away in relationship.
Yes.
And that's a really big thing for
Es-
people. They lose themselves, and
Especially if you're a
it's something
giver.
to pay attention to.
Yes,
Yeah,
especially if you're
yeah,
a giver.
exactly. We want everybody to be happy
Yeah,
too.
you know, we come join my frequency. Let me pull you up, you know. And it's like,
Oh yeah,
yeah. Yes, I know that one very, very well. We'll have to do
yeah,
a show on that for sure.
yes.
Now, I know you've got a retreat coming up, and you do so much. So just start telling everybody what you offer them when the retreat is coming up, how they can get a hold of you, and how they can be helped by you in moving forward in their own life.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you all about that. Uh, I'll just start with my website because it's my name. It's Esateys at Esateys.com. And it should be in the writing there, but I'll quickly
Please spell it
spell
for
my
those who are
name.
just ordering. Yeah.
It's ESAT, like in Tom, EYS, like in stupendous. Esateys at Esateys.com. That's my website. So there's a lot of information there. But I do spiritual and any kind of coaching. I'm a specialist with mindset and with relationships. And I've done spiritual coaching for so many years that even when somebody thinks they're coming to me for something else, there's always the core foundation of
Yes.
what's really going on. That
Yep.
just happens. And I do retreats. I'm doing one here in the Portland, Oregon area on April 20, 21, 22 of 2018 here. I'm doing one in California in the San Jose, Saratoga area. It's right near San Francisco. And that is in June, I believe around the 15th, but it should say so on the page. And if anybody would like to go to my YouTube channel, you could do that as well. Just search for Esateys, and I have a Facebook page, Wake Up with E. And you can find me around town, so to speak. I
Right.
am pretty much everywhere, and I would love to be supportive to anyone who is interested in taking their spirituality, their life, their connection, their awareness, their awakening to a whole new level, and that would include money and anything else. And I'm in amazing gratitude for you, Sarah.
Oh, thank
You've
you.
been such a gift in my life, and I feel blessed to have you here with me, to be able to speak to people, to share my heart, to hear your wisdom, and to help other people recognize that it's in them. There's nothing that we're saying that isn't in other people's
No. And
DNA and theirs.
we've taken the journey. This is the thing is that I always say I celebrate ordinary people who had extraordinary journeys,
Yes.
and that's the thing. We're ordinary people. We started out like most people did. It's just that we took the journey, and what we're trying to do is make other people's journeys smoother than the one we had,
Yes.
right? Because,
Yes.
by our knowledge, our inspiration, our knowingness, we can help you get to where you need to go faster without having it to be such a rocky road.
Yes.
And because we need everybody to step into that higher frequency, the world, the universe,
The
everybody
world
needs it. So this
really
is the
does.
reason why we're here. We're here to help people to embrace their beautiful divine presence. And everybody has a beautiful divine presence in them. They just need to allow it, don't they?
Yes, they do. That is really, they be with whom it
Yes,
is that they truly are.
right. Yeah, so as Popeye
Yeah.
says, I am what I am. It's just love who you are. Please do not measure yourself by somebody else.
Oh
That's
gosh.
who they are. As what's that terminology? Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
I
Right?
like that.
Yeah. And you are enough. You're here for a reason. You have a gift to participate with. And when you step into your meaningful purpose, that's really truly where you actually understand why you're here.
Yes.
It's been
So
a delight having you here. And yes, you're coming back. We're going to do another show. For sure. And probably even on channeling sessions with Christina Hill, because I know she's going to love you. And we talk about all sorts of other things, but certainly relationships. And, you know, when people talk about relationships, they automatically go to girl, guy, you know, love relationships.
Yeah.
You cannot step into a love relationship until you first found love within self. And that it goes to every single relationship you have on every level.
It's absolutely true. It's always starts with love of self. This is the first relationship, and everything comes out from there. So the transformations that occur at retreats, working, and all the spiritual work that you and others like us do always starts from here. And it's key because we
Yes.
are the source creator of life. You know,
Yep.
we are the co-creators of creating
Yes.
what it is that we experience. So we have to start here. It's never going to come from over there. It
No.
will never come from over there. So in here is where the number one focus is.
Yeah. And, you know, to remember, we're here with knowledge and guidance. We can fill your backpack of knowledge to take on your journey of life, but we're not here to walk it for you.
Yep.
You have to be willing to step up into your own life, participate in your own life, embrace your own life, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, the imperfect, the perfect, whatever. It's all beautiful. Step into that, own that, and with all the knowledge and love and support from us, you'll be able to walk forward on your path prepared.
Ah, beautifully put. Beautiful.
Wonderful having you here for this hour. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to next time, for sure.
Me too. Yes, I'm blessed. I really am, and I thank you, and I thank all of you that are listening, and hopefully I'll get to meet some of you. It would be
Yes.
awesome.
Yes, well, there's a lot of things coming up with a new book on self-discovery with participants from our radio guests, and there will be other things happening in the next year or two that's just going to expand that, because with such wonderful, beautiful wisdom like that, it's not just
Yes.
meant to be, you know, one little show and that's it. No, we've got a library here. Come and visit our library and be inspired. So we've got to
Yes.
expand on that. So
I've already told so many people, and I'm of course going to send this out to my whole mailing list. And I was telling somebody that I was going to be recording. She said, well, can't I be on there? And I said, I'll send you the link. Yes, of course. And so she had not been familiar with this station. So I'm going to let everybody know about your
oh,
station.
thank you thank you very much. And as I said, definitely got to have you back, most certainly. I love the way you honor yourself and honor everyone else, and you know, as pre-discussed, please be you. We need you, not what somebody else expects from you, but you in your beautiful divine presence. You shine bright, keep shining. We need that.
So be it.
And remember,
Beautiful.
folks, you too are also a beautiful light that we need. So don't be afraid to step into your own light. We need it. Even, you know, the darkness needs the light and the light needs the darkness. Everything is about that. And that's yet another show. So until next time, folks, bye for now.